Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Anthony Gamer.
And I'm Larry the Lion.
And today we're going to begin our unit on the Atari 7800. We're going to discuss some of the specifics about the game console itself and some of those rare and valuable games for that specific system. When the Atari 7800 was released in 1986, Atari had high hopes for it. One of the failures of the Atari 5200 was the fact that it was not backwards compatible.
Would you explain that to people, just in case they don't know what that means?
Sure. Backwards compatible means that the games from the earlier game system would be able to play on the new one. For instance, especially the 2600 games were not able to be played on the 5200 without some modifications. And that was going to be the advantage of the 7800, was that you are able to play 2600 games on the 7800, as well as the new games intended for that system. And they were able to pull it off. However, there was one game that was not able to work on the 7800. So that's today's trivia question. What is the name of the one Atari 2600 game that was not able to be played on the Atari 7800? You think you know the answer? Wait till the end and see if you're correct. Atari had created the 7800 a few years ago after the failure of the 5200. But it was shelved for a couple of years, and then eventually it was brought back in the year 1986.
One of the main reasons that they made the new system is to compete with the NES, which at that time pretty much had a stranglehold on the video game market.
That's correct. Even the Sega Master System didn't really hold a candle to the NES. So Atari made this last-ditch effort in order to possibly recreate or recapture that magic that it had during the golden era of video games. A lot of the games that were released for the 7800 were arcade games, as one of the functions of the 5200, or PAM as they nicknamed it, was that they could have the best possible ports of arcade games. And that's what they did with the 7800. As a matter of fact, some of the arcade games that were ported to the 7800 looked better than they had on any other game system up to that point, specifically Joust and Donkey Kong.
One of the problems, though, is that they needed new games. So a large percentage of the new games that were made for the 7800 were made in-house.
That's correct, Larry. And it's also one of the reasons why the 7800 wasn't a big success, because they only got third-party games from three companies, that being Activision, Absolute Entertainment, and Froggo. As to where Nintendo, although they closely monitored the third-party game companies, were able to get a lot more backing from other game companies than the 7800. However, there were some games that were originals for this game console. The console itself came with the game Pole Position 2. Now, Pole Position 1, of course, had been a big hit on both the arcade and on the Atari 2600, so they decided for their launch title, why not go with something that worked in the past? And it was a great game, honestly. I think the graphics really showed what the 7800 was capable of. One of the reasons that I believe that the 7800 wasn't a success, or one of the things that held it back, were other game consoles at that time were not making joysticks anymore. And of course, the 7800 originally in North America came with a joystick, not the joypad, which was becoming the in thing now.
Right, the NES and the Sega game, what was that called?
No, not Mega Drive, that came later. Sega Master System.
Oh yeah, it's hard to remember because I'm not a big fan.
I'm not either.
But both the NES and the Sega Master System had the new gamepad, and joysticks themselves were kind of becoming a thing of the past.
With all that aside, there were some games that had been ported to the NES that were able to get onto the 7800 with some finagling. I'm not really sure the legal details, but some of those games were Mario Brothers, Double Dragon, Commando, Rampage, Xenophobe, Akari Warriors, and Kung Fu Master. Unfortunately, the 7800 was discontinued in 1992, and in the 6 years it was around, only 59 games were released for that system. There were some prototypes that were not released, and we'll discuss those in a later episode. But honestly, in the 6 years, that's a really sad number that only 59 games were officially released for this system. Years later, however, some homebrew programmers and hack programmers would release some of their own games, and we will discuss that as well in another episode.
Although the game console didn't last long and there weren't a whole lot of games, some of those games, a few of them, became kind of valuable.
That's correct. Now, in the past, we have had episodes about rare and valuable games for the 2600 and 5200. Now, of course, with the 2600, that was a multi-episodal unit. However, being as the 5200, the 7800 didn't have a whole lot of games to begin with, there are not a lot of games on the valuable list. Now, what we're going to base them on are current market values, according to research I've done. Now, these games that are going to be on today's list are ones that are worth $50 or more out of the package.
Right, because some games, no matter what they are, can be valuable if they're still in the package.
That's correct.
And our first game for today is Commando. This was released by Sunsoft. Many of you are probably familiar with this game. It's a rescue mission where you storm the enemy fortress and try to rescue some POWs and take out as many of the bad guys as you can. This game was well known before it was released on the 7800, as it had been on just about every computer known to man before that. Even though it was very common to find on the computers, especially the Commodore 64, it was a little rarer on the 7800. To find this out of the package, just the cartridge, will run you about $50. And to find it brand new still in the box, it will run you close to $100. And our next game is Mean 18 Ultimate Golf. Now, I have spoken about this game in another episode, my golf games, and this game has a special place in video game history because of the fact that it was the very first golf game to use the 3-tap method, which other games have done since then. Do they have that on that game you got now, the PGA 2019? No, actually, they don't use the 3-tap method for that game, not anymore, but for many years they did. Now, unlike other golf games, this one is a little on the rare side. To get just the cart alone will cost you about $60, and if you are able to find this game still in the package, it will run you around $95. Alright, our next game is Midnight Mutants. This is kind of, the best way I can describe it is kind of like Zelda, sort of. You're going into a haunted house and maybe you should say like Castlevania. No, but it's not a side scroller. It's kind of those kind of top-down things like Zelda, or at least it tries to be. This has to be my least favorite game on this list, and probably my least favorite 7800 game. Even putting Al Lewis or Grandpa on the cover really didn't help this game much. As bad as the game is, it is a little on the valuable side, so if you are able to just get the card alone, it'll run you about $65, and if you're able to get it still in the package, it will run you around $105.
And our next game we have is Fatal Run.
Exactly, this has got to be one of the most original games for this system. In this game, you take on the role of this kind of traveler, or I guess you could say courier, as you are trying to get from one town to another to get medication for these people that have a fatal disease. This is kind of a post-apocalyptic game, and you have to trick out your car to get weapons, body armor, all kinds of stuff. It's kind of like Streets of SimCity put on a 7800. It's a really fun game, and will give you hours of entertainment. I honestly have to say this is probably one of the best games for this system. As much fun as it is, it's going to cost you a little bit. If you'd like to get just a cart alone, it'll run you around $65. And if you are interested in getting it complete and in the package, it will run you about $102. Now, Atari Warriors, our next game, doesn't really need much of an introduction. It's one of the most well-known vertical shoot-'em-up games ever made. And probably one of the longest. Oh, you got a point there. Did you ever beat it? Yeah, it took quite a while, but I didn't even realize it was released for the 7800 until I started doing research, as I do not remember seeing it in the store. Most of us at that time period played the version for the NES. Not really one of the best ports of this arcade game, and nowhere near as good as the 7800, as the NES version, but it is what it is. And it's a little on the valuable side. If you'd like to get just the cart alone, it will run you around $70. And if you're looking to get everything still in the package, it'll run you around $120. Alright, our next game, Ninja Golf, has to be one of the most unique and original games I've ever seen for any system. I have to agree with you on that one, Larry. This game has developed quite a following since its release, as a lot of people have rediscovered the game. Other gaming channels have profiled it, and we're going to talk about it briefly here. In this game, you take on the role of an unnamed ninja, and you are shooting 9 holes of golf. Well, if that was all there was to it, it wouldn't be much of a game. Between hitting the ball, you have to fight other ninjas. And when you make it to the hole, before you can putt it in, you have to fight a dragon. So, yeah. Anyway, this game is quite valuable, as it did not get a big release initially when it first came out. Like I said, it developed a cult following later on. To get just the cartridge will run you about $75, and if you are able to find it still in the box, it will run you about $96.
Okay, what you're looking at here is our next game, and this is called Alien Brigade. This is one of the few games that you actually use the light gun with, as there were only 5 games made to be played with the light gun. That was Alien Brigade, Barnyard Blaster, Crossbow, Meltdown, and the game Sentinel, which was only released in Europe. In this game, you take on the role of a soldier, and you're going around trying to save people because these aliens have taken over the bodies of the U.S. military, and you've got to go in there and save the people and kill the aliens. This game, according to some critics, is considered one of the premier games for the 7800. However, though, this game is actually extremely rare. If you find the game in the box, if you find the game loose, you can get it for around $90. And if you find it still in the package, be ready to fork out at least $150.
And our final game for today is Tank Command. Yeah. Interesting game. Not really original. Not really a whole lot of fun. You drive around in a tank and you blow up stuff. And try not to get blown up yourself. My biggest complaint is the same complaint that a lot of other people have about this game. The color scheme is just weird. Anyway, but it's not totally original, but, it's definitely not Battlezone, that's for sure. Anyway, aside from the fact that the game really isn't all that great, it is the most valuable 7800 game. If you are looking to get the game in just cart, it will run you around $112. And if you are looking to get it complete and in the package, it will run you about $400.
In our next episode, we're going to discuss games based on the anime JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Well, that brings us to the end of another episode. I really hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you for stopping by. And if you liked today's video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click that little bell icon down there so you'll be notified when I upload new episodes. and the answer to today's trivia question, what is the name of the 2600 game that was not able to be played on the 7800? And the answer is Activision's Star Master. Because of the way it was programmed and you had to flip the different switches on the 2600, it just didn't work.
Do you think that space shuttle game would work?
You know, that's a good question. We'll have to try that out. I've been meaning to do an episode on that game anyway. I got a feeling it probably wouldn't work either, but I'll have to give it a try. Good point, Larry.
I know.
Anyway, until next time, I am Anthony Gamer.
And I'm Larry the Lion.
And we will see you all in the next episode. Until then, have yourselves a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and above all, take care of each other. See you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.